there, and welcome to the Big Apple Scope podcast. My name is Sam.
And this is Mike.
And today we're asking, what's the crack about video games? So we're going to define those things for you, how they differ from board games or tabletop games. Video games that we play, we'll mention that. PC games, games on our phones, we'll mention those. What is the appeal of games for us and people in general? What we played as young boys, because we were young boys and they were popular back then. Yes, even in our day, even in my day. Arcade games. You're looking at me as if to say, I'm not that old. And some popular games now. And do they promote violence? We might get to that question. And where we see them going in the future, because there's going to be revolution. There's going to be change. So where is that going to go? So let's get started. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Sam.
How are you?
I'm all good.
Good stuff. And can you please, I know you're a video game gamer.
Lifelong.
Can you define video games?
Well, compared to what, say, tabletop?
Yeah, so let's compare it to board game or tabletop game.
Yeah, I mean...
What is it?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Video games use electric signals.
Okay.
Yeah, so it can come in, nowadays, like infinite number of possibilities and genres. Yeah.
Right.
But basically, it uses electric signals as the main form of communication. Whereas tabletop, these sort of things use verbal.
Right.
Yeah, verbal and physical, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta have to admit, like, a lot of VR and stuff like that is transcending that at the moment.
Yeah.
So VR itself is very physical.
Right.
Yeah. So
can you explain what VR is?
Virtual reality.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Been around forever. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's that you put on maybe a headset or something.
Yeah, that's right. You put on
enter into a world.
Enter into a world, three-dimensional. Basically, and then you can interact with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what do you play? What video games do you play? What console do you prefer?
We're at, I don't know what generation, we're at 13th generation or something, or something like that.
Right.
But basically, I consider PS4 has won this generation of consoles.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know about the next generation, but it's pretty clear.
Not Xbox?
No, Xbox lost big time.
Okay.
Yeah. In the previous one, Xbox won, the previous generation. This generation, the score goes to PS4. Excellent controls. Controller is excellent. The range of games is so diverse, so much diverse on Xbox, and many exclusives on PS4. So games only developed for the PS4 players and nobody else.
Right.
So Xbox just lacks that. So sorry Xbox, sorry Microsoft, you should have never entered this game in the first place.
Yeah. They pipped them at the post.
Yeah.
Or more than that.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox did well when it first came out.
Give them a good whipping.
And we give them a really good whopping, actually.
Yeah. As for me, right now, and for a long time, I'm not a gamer.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that I avoid games. It doesn't mean that I hate games. It doesn't mean that I look down on gamers either. My younger brother is a gamer, and I've got respect for it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think if people enjoy it, that's great. But I'm not a gamer, and I have a Mac at the moment, and it's not really for games, but I play solitaire. So this is my level of gaming. Solitaire, which is just a kind of a strategy game with cards. You just have to match them up. There's no gambling or money or anything bad connected to it. It's just matching cards. And then when you match them all up in the correct place, you win the game and you can start again if you wish. And I find it a little bit relaxing. Gives you a chance to clear your head and think a little bit. Sudoku. I know it's not necessarily an electronic Sudoku. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Sudoku, yeah.
Sudoku. I'm Northern Irish, all right?
All right. Well, we'll forgive you for that.
Sorry, but Sudoku. It's a Japanese word, isn't it? I think. But
it means math something. Yeah, as I recall.
I know it's not strictly a game, as in a PC game or anything, but I play it on my laptop occasionally.
But Sudoku is originally, like Solitaire, was a tabletop game that got translated into a video game using electric signals. So you are playing a video game, However, its origins are in tabletop.
Right.
And let's face it, the first video game ever, Pong, was a tabletop game.
Right. It's like
you
ping
remember
pong?
Ping? Well, it was one of them, hockey games.
You're
right?
reminding me of Snake. Did you ever play Snake when you were at school?
If I see it, I'll know it. I can't remember on top of my head.
When I was a boy in primary school, and this is going back a little bit now, it would have been late 80s, early 90s. And we had this is going to sound terrible to young people, but we had like 1 or 2 computers in our school, in primary school. And that's going to sound terrible to young people.
We were the same. It was one primary school that had 1 Apple IIe.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't remember well, but maybe we had 1 per room. And that would have been amazing, right?
Well, that would have been amazing, yeah.
But we had this game, and the kids, it wasn't so much me, but the guys in my class, and girls, if you want to come to that, liked to play Snake. And it was, I think, the only thing that they were really interested in on the computer. And I remember we played it during dinner time and stuff, and lunchtime. And it was just a long snake shape, but made up of, very pixelated, made up of circles. So I think there was maybe a red circle at the front and then lots of green circles, something like that.
Yeah.
And you had to press the up, down, left, right keys to eat something.
Something, yeah.
And then as you ate, the snake got longer.
That's right.
And you couldn't hit the sides of the screen. Or you would die, and you couldn't hit yourself as a snake. So if you got big and long, you really had to be careful to avoid yourself. And it could get faster or slower. And so it wasn't a strategy game. It was quite tested your, motor skills, I guess. How quickly you could move.
Your dexterity.
Yeah, and I guess it didn't appeal to me because I'm not keen on that kind of game. But it was fun to watch. And it was really popular at that time. You just reminded me of it, actually. And it was basically very basic, but it was a computer game.
Do you remember what PC, or was it PC or Mac you had in your classrooms?
It wasn't a Mac. I don't remember.
IBM 286.
It could have been IBM. I don't know, to be honest. I never paid much attention. It wasn't. It was a big thing, but it wasn't something I paid too much attention to the details of. Are computer games on a PC better?
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, people don't want to admit that, but it's PCs.
So you said PS.
Well, they call it PC Master Race for a reason, because they are. It is the premier gaming.
And why is that?
Equipment. Because PC, it just outperforms any console in terms of computing power and
you can
graphics
add
power.
You can add to your computer. You can build your own.
It's faster over the internet. Everything is just better on a PC, and even the ergonomics of many games are much better on a PC than on a Mac. on a console.
So as far as consoles, PS4 is the best. But as far as playing games, your PC that you maybe build yourself or whatever is best, yeah?
Of course.
Yeah. And have you ever built your own games?
Oh, yeah, I built quite a few since I was a kid.
Right.
Because back in those days, you kind of had to do that. But these days, you don't even need to do that.
You don't need
Computers
to,
are so cheap now, all around the world. So,
okay.
Back in those days, you had to save for months to buy a computer, and you had to save for months working at McDonald's. Yeah. Right, to save up for an upgrade.
Did you work at McDonald's?
Oh, yeah.
So did I.
Yeah. And I actually burned my hand doing it. I still got the scars.
I think
if it was today, we'd be suing them for.
I think I have a few burns, but nothing serious.
They changed the whole design of those things so kids don't get burned anymore.
Right.
So, I used to save up for months so I can buy a graphics card, so I can play Unreal or the latest Quake on it. Teenage years.
Yeah. Because my younger brother, not very long ago, built his own PC, and He chose to build it and build like a super machine and whatever. But he didn't have to, but he took it as a hobby, I guess.
Yeah. And we call them gaming rigs, those things. So gaming rigs or gaming PCs, we call them. Yeah. And
you need to have. My Wii Mac doesn't have the power, doesn't have the graphics card or whatever. The fan starts. If I were to play a game, a serious game, the fan would start to go really quickly. The thing would start to heat up.
Not good. So generally not advised to do that on a Mac.
Yeah. So I guess you need to have a proper, but it's not my thing so much. But yeah, cool. Do you have games on your phone? And I guess
I actually do not play phone games because basically the world is split into three kind of players, right? And when it comes to games, there's three kind of players. There's what we call the casuals. Right? So they just want a little break. They want to play small games, just a little bit at a time. Like you playing solitaire. You're what we would call a casual. Okay. A casual gamer. But a casual for short. And then there is the serious, right? People like me who actually dedicate time and money and resources into these things. And it's a serious hobby.
It's your thing. Yeah.
That's right. So, and if serious, gamers come together in a room, they can talk for hours about things.
Right.
Yeah? Because we've had...
What graphics card have you got?
Exactly.
How many RAM?
And what game was great? This was good. That was not good.
Yeah.
What are we expecting for the future? Blast from the past, that sort of thing.
Red Dead Redemption 3 is coming out.
That's right. Did you hear about this? Oh, yeah. $89.95. And then there are these people called mobile gamers. That's the third category.
What? Mobile gamers, right?
Mobile gamers, right? Which means on their mobile phones, they play games.
Okay.
And these are the filthiest gamers of all. Yeah. So
no respect.
No respect for these people. Yeah. So serious gamers
respect for themselves
refuse to play mobile games because it encourages. But it's so annoying because mobile games, because everybody has a mobile phone in this world now, practically.
Yeah.
Mobile games have become more profitable for game companies,
right?
Than designing games for mobile gamers have been more profitable than for serious gamers,
right? Because
the sheer number of people who owns these things, who aren't really gamers but want to play games every now and then, far outsurpasses serious gamers. So a lot of game developers are now making games and concentrating, putting their resource and time and effort into creating these little mobile games. And that really pisses us off. Because they're ignoring the real fans who built the industry.
You want a meaty game. You want good decent graphics.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Have you heard of Diablo?
You'll have to tell me what it is.
It was a little dungeon crawling game from the 90s.
Right.
Yeah, it was one of the first games that Blizzard, StarCraft guys and Warcraft
I've heard
guys,
of Blizzard, but I haven't heard of this game.
Yes, they invented this sort of, they didn't invent it, but it was sort of like, it was a genre-breaking thing. It was like Doom for action RPGs, right? Role-playing games. And basically, there's 3 Diablos out for PC, and they've all been hits. For the last 25 years, they've been hits.
Right.
And the latest one they released at E3, which is the big convention, the biggest convention of gaming in the world. They came out and they said, we're releasing Diablo. And people went, wow, a new Diablo game for mobile. And everyone just went silent.
Really?
And people were saying, are you joking? Are you kidding? And the people who were presenting it from Blizzard were so shit-faced. They literally went white from the cold reception that everybody had. And it became a joke, this new game, right?
Wow.
But this is a typical case of developers.
Read your audience.
That's right. Ignoring serious gamers. And then moving their, a beloved franchise to mobile. And everybody being angry at that. Yeah. It was...
you talked to the wrong people for that.
Oh, it was completely the wrong thing to do. You don't come to a serious gaming convention like E3 and say we're going to release mobile games.
It's interesting that you say that because I've talked about my younger brother and I would say he's quite a serious gamer too. He's built his own PC and he loves to play games and he also tells me that he won't play mobile games.
Of course not. Filthy mobile gamers.
No, he's like, no way, I won't touch that.
There's 2 lingos that you should know. Filthy casuals, filthy mobile gamers. right? But mobile gamers are the worst of all.
Yeah. You still okay with me? You can.
Do you play mobile games?
You can still look at me in the eye.
Do you play mobile games?
I'm gonna be honest. That I have.
Shame on you.
But casually and to be honest, at the moment, I don't at all.
Okay.
I have played something called Hungry Shark.
They always have these funny names.
I know, but Hungry Shark is when you go around, you swim about and eat these people. It sounds violent, but you eat people as a shark, and then you can evolve, as they say, into another bigger shark. You get, start off as a maybe little tiny shark, and you get into a big great white, and then a megalodon, and so on and so forth. I know I'm not gonna persuade you on this, but it was good fun to play.
I see.
It was entertaining, and it was rewarding, I guess, as far as a game goes, because you could build up and get some kind of result from it, if you know what I mean. Like you could save points or whatever, and you could get to a result from it all. And I know that's the thing in gaming, where you have a goal or many goals, and you aim towards this. You're not looking at me very friendly, but I mean, in any game and some of the good games, you have a lot of goals to reach.
I see.
I mean, even in PC and console games, you have goals to reach. You've missions. If it's, for example, Grand Theft Auto, you've got a mission or a goal, and then you get points, and then you progress, and then you can explore more of the world. Do you know what I mean?
Just about every game should have a goal.
Yeah,
there has been an overarching goal of some form, even open world games. So Grand Theft Auto is what we call a sandbox. So sandbox, there's a difference between open world, sandbox, and linear.
Right.
Those are the three big categories that serious gamers are sort of diving into.
Right.
And Grand Theft Auto is a sandbox game with a linear story.
You sort of play about in the sand.
But you have a linear story. So you have a story that goes from start to end. You play the story, but you're dropped into this sandbox-like environment where there is a border, in all four corners, but you can do whatever you want within those four corners. Yeah. So it's like a little kid playing a sandbox. Yeah, essentially.
So getting to that kind of topic, and I'm going to let you talk now, because I'm just a terrible, filthy casual. What's the appeal of video games for you personally?
What's the appeal of video games? Look, for me, it's different for everybody, but for me, in the last few years, have only really played stealth games. Yeah, so games where you hide from your enemies and you sort of sneak around.
Bit of strategy involved.
Yeah, definitely. Forethought, strategy, awareness. Yeah, and being, listening for sounds or footsteps, that sort of thing. For me, it's the suspense. Yeah, stealth games always have to have a big element of suspense.
Yeah.
Do I get caught? Do I not get caught? It's almost like playing hide and seek when you're kids.
Have you ever played Commandos?
Yeah, Commandos is a top-down strategy game, but it is stealth element.
I really enjoyed that when I was younger.
Yeah, it was good.
Really enjoyed it. It's very tricky when you get to even like the second, third, fourth level. It's really tricky.
It is.
It's a really hard game, but it was good fun.
I think my favorite was the espionage, the guy who can dress himself up as an Nazi officer.
Yeah, because you can almost do anything.
That's right. Very versatile. I thought he was my favorite.
I like the big guy, and maybe people will know, maybe not. The big, I think he's Irish, maybe. And he's got a big knife. Is he? Hello, yes, sir.
The one with the beret.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one who knives people.
Yeah.
Apparently he didn't like dogs.
He can hide in the snow.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that he can. I used him a lot because you can, send him in. Yeah. Hide him. The snow comes down and covers his tracks, and then he can jump up and knife someone, and he's very useful.
There are still games made like that in the Commando spirit.
Right.
Yeah, there still are. And some of them are really fantastic. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. The suspense element has to be really good.
It's got a bit of... So it's testing your mental ability.
Yeah, right? Pretty much.
And why do you think, in general, people play games?
You're asking a question, why do people eat food? Right? It's because, not because the question is silly, but because games have become so big in nature in terms of industry size and the crowd following it. I mean, it is the most profitable, hands down, profitable form of entertainment in the world. Right. In the last 10 years. Yeah. It has been. Wow. Yeah. So it far outsurpasses movies and music. Yeah. Yeah, in terms of profitability. Okay. But, everybody has their own reasons for that, right? Yeah. Some people do it because they're bored. Some people do it to connect with other people. Some people do it because for suspense, like me. Yeah. Some people do it to learn history, believe it or not. There are games that are very much have a historical lore behind them. Yeah. I just recently met a girl who did exactly that. Played Assassin's Creed Egypt, right? Yeah. The origins, because it's got the ancient Egypt background as the setting. It's open like a GTA world, like sandbox. And she only played the game only because she could learn about Egypt that way, right? In English.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a good learning tool.
You touched on a point, because for non-English speakers or non-native English speakers, it can be useful too.
Very useful. But know that this is one thing I kind of realized in the last couple of months meeting people, is that inevitably a lot of the lexicon used within games, they're not exactly high educated.
Right.
You know, the vocabulary range is not really.
It's not what you might need for a job.
Yeah.
Or something.
So people
like, freeze, put your hands up.
Yeah. So
it's not
people
what you need in the office.
That's right. So people who've learned to be fluent in English using music or using Instagram or movies or games.
Yeah.
The range of vocabulary is actually quite limited. They are fluent. They're able to construct sentences beautifully, right, using the correct grammar and whatnot. But you find that they have a real limited use of vocabulary, and they do not sound like educated adults.
Right.
Quite often. Yeah, they sound like. Yeah.
But still, I think. Well, my view would be that it's a benefit because it gives them some foundation
for beginners. For beginners, absolutely. Yeah.
I know a guy whose English isn't his first language.
Yeah.
And he's a gamer, and actually it's given him a good starting point.
Yes.
To build on, to develop his English.
Oh, you got to go with the media.
Useful.
You got to go with the form of media that excites you.
Yeah.
I mean why would you?
You're learning, but also having fun.
That's right.
And it can be about that.
You don't want this to be a grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a good way to build a little bit of a foundation or a bigger foundation, but have fun at the same time, I guess. So for back when you were a little boy, running about knee-high to a grasshopper, as Gary and I talked about, what did you play? What was good for you?
Knee-high.
Well, maybe a bit bigger, let's say. Because I'm not sure you've had so many games consoles as 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, I did actually.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Atari was the first one I had when I was 4 to 5, and then graduated into Nintendo.
Yeah.
The 8-bit when I was about 7, and then Super Nintendo 2-3 years later.
Oh, yes.
So the games that I'm most fond of actually is actually not the Atari games. It's the Super Marios of the Nintendo generation.
Super Mario, when I was a boy, had pretty much taken over the world.
It changed the gaming. It really did.
And the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo?
Super Nintendo, yes.
And there were, this was in the I guess it was 90s, late 80s, early 90s. There were 2 types of kids in the world. Those with Sega Mega Drives and those with Super Nintendos.
Just like Xbox and PS4 now.
And my household, I think that Mario and the Super Nintendo won the battle.
Of course it did, yeah.
But in my house, we had a Sega Mega Drive.
Right.
And we loved Sonic, and we played Sega Mega Drive. And Sonic is, I guess it's a platform game, but I guess it's like a linear, isn't it?
Yeah, so Sonic was too dizzying. It was headache-inducing for me. It was too fast.
I loved it.
Too fast. I would vomit after a while. Yeah.
You had to collect little gold rings.
Correct.
And you had to jump and spin and kill the bad guys.
That's right.
There were obstacles.
But it was all about speed.
Yes.
You had to speed through, and you had to know the levels really well.
Sometimes the levels were really timed, and you had to be.
Right.
And other times they weren't so much, but it was a lot about speed. And Sonic the Hedgehog, as the name suggests, had to be. He's really quick.
Games those days were so hard. They're much harder than today.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what the big difference? Because I tried to play games maybe 10 years ago, and I had a big break where I didn't play anything. I was just not doing any kind of game stuff for a long time. And then I tried to play a console, and there were so many buttons, the back buttons, the left, the right, and you have not just up, down, left, right, but you have a little, I'm not sure what it's called, like a joystick type thing that you have to move.
Analog stick, it's called.
And you have to change the camera angle.
Yeah.
And I can't do it.
It's like piloting a drone.
I can't do it.
It's basically the equivalent of piloting a drone, but a little more complex.
But when I was a boy, there were like 3 buttons, but you only really needed 2.
Yeah.
And then up, down, left, right. And that was it. And you usually just press right and up and A and B or something. to jump and to hit.
These days, they're pretty much like 15-button configuration with a touchpad.
It scares
in the middle,
me. It scares me.
But it needs that because those consoles have to accommodate for so many genres now of gaming, and different genres require different kind of input and different ergonomics. So controller design is actually an art of its own.
Yeah. Oh, it's very impressive. But I'm the guy, if you play a game with me, like a multiplayer, maybe a shooting game or something, I'll be the guy trying, running in a circle.
Yeah, and getting headshotted. Yeah.
I'll be that guy. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. How do I turn? How do I change the camera angle?
The new victims. Yeah.
Noobs. That's right.
The new victim. Yes.
Have you heard of Crash Bandicoot?
Of course.
Medieval. It was a skeleton guy.
It was creepy.
Played that. It was good fun. Very colorful. Yeah. Creepy, but also very colorful.
Creepy art design, but...
Soul Reaver.
Man, that is a game that I still watch the intros to that game on YouTube.
It was really creepy, but really... I really liked it.
It feels like Warhammer, right? It has that Warhammer Gothic, very dark vibe to it.
Yeah. Earthworm Jim.
Yeah, of course.
That one was quite good.
Yeah.
And we played some, GTA, of course, Grand Theft Auto. Even I played that. And I mean, I don't know.
The first one?
I guess it was a very early one. I don't know if it was the first. Maybe it was.
Was it top down?
Yeah, looking down.
Little guy looking down. Yeah, that was
looking down.
Yes. Yeah. So you played the originals then?
The original and the best, maybe. I don't know. But I there is a kind of morbidness to it. Like you get points for killing people.
That's not the first game to do that. It's not the last game to do
No, but I think it became very popular, and I guess for people who didn't understand it, it was controversial.
So there are a few games in gaming history that really broke the grounds on that, and afterwards it sort of pushed the boundaries further and further of what you could get away with in gaming. Now remember, these are games of the 90s, right? This was a time when they used to create films like Terminator and RoboCop and market it to kids. These super ultra-violent films were created to be marketed towards kids.
Right. Because
just watch the original Batman from Tim Burton, right? The one from 1990, right? Just watch how many people he kills in that.
1989.
The Batman actually kills people in that movie, right?
I'll correct you, 1989.
I mean, Chris Nolan's version, he doesn't kill anybody, but...
it's not clear if he does, yeah. I mean...
in the Batman trilogy that Nolan
I think he technically... I'm sure that he actually is responsible for deaths.
Yeah.
But inadvertently.
Yeah, but in Tim Burton, he actually throws them down the bell towers and then he actually incinerates them.
Yeah,
he's what we call a psychopath.
Yeah, he's not the real traditional version of Batman, I would think.
But that's the movie series that darkened him.
Yeah.
Before he was...
For sure.
Yeah. So... but getting back to that, I mean, like games, the boundaries are always being pushed with violence. It always is. And nudity and political incorrectness, it always is.
Yeah.
And GTA was one of the first pioneers of that. Yeah. But I guess the original pioneer was Mortal Kombat.
Right, where you can tear someone's skull out or skeleton.
The media, the politician, and the parents were all going crazy, ape psycho over that game when we were kids. They were saying, this is going to turn our kids into murdering psychopaths.
And I guess if it's your little Johnny and he's maybe 10 years old and you see him digitally pull a skull out of someone's head, you might be a bit alarmed because that's your little boy or little girl or whatever. And I guess, I want to play devil's advocate for a while, but I mean, a parent, they look at their little child, it's my little boy or little girl, my little angel. And they see that and they think, this is terrible. But
we grew up on this and we're having kids now. So how do you feel about that?
So, but if I give my point of view, I can understand a parent who looks at that and say, my little boy who's an angel, but he's tearing a skull out of someone's, digitally.
And laughing about it.
And having fun. But my point of view is that a child, a person, at least most people, can understand naturally that that's a game, that's not real life, that's not what you do in real life. They understand that that's a different world and it's a virtual thing, and it's something that they can do and have fun in doing as a game, but that they would never dream to do in real life.
I've actually talked to a psychologist about this before, and the answer It was about 2 years ago, I think. I was dating a psychologist at the time, and she was a research psych at Macquarie University, my old university in Sydney. And I looked at her and I said, games don't cause violence. This is fun, right? She looked at me she just shook her head like this, like seriously, like it's been proven in psychology again and again and again that violent behavior, a lot of that is attributed to playing video games that are violent.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So in her mind, as a research psych, right, is that there is an association between those two things, right? Whereas, lifelong gamers like me, we just blow it off. Blow off the notion that violence has nothing to do with video gaming. But to her, it definitely does.
Okay.
Yeah? So for her, things like, watching pornography as a child, can lead to you becoming a rapist later in life. And that's been documented, actually been quantified and statistically, basically been boiled down to our conclusion. And so has video games and violence.
Right. So should we protect our younger children?
I don't know. Can you? Against this force called video games, the industry I told you, it's become the preeminent, right?
And maybe the more you shield your child, the more they'll say, well, I'm going to play it and hide it from you.
But they could come in, but this violence can come in any form. It can be subtle or overt. I mean, for you, that little shark game where you're supposed to eat people alive and tear the limbs apart and get bigger and bigger, it's just a different form of violence, but with flashy graphics and colorful cartoony graphics. Yeah. It's still violence.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
So you heard it from us. Don't play games at all.
Not what I'm saying. Not what I'm saying. Yeah.
What are the most popular games at the moment?
At the moment, mobile games.
No.
In terms of sheer numbers, mobile games, you have to...
Even I don't have any respect for mobile games.
All right. Most popular. Look, I'm not so sure about that statistic,
Red Dead Redemption 2 is pretty popular, no?
It sold a lot, but that doesn't mean that it's the most popular. Yeah. I mean, the most popular games are usually the multiplayer ones, like Fortnite. Okay, Fortnite was the last big hit.
Right.
That just became really, really big. Basically, games that are casual and accessible and that appeals to teenagers and adults tend to do really well in terms of numbers. Wide audience. Yeah, it's statistics.
And what about the future of games? So I mentioned VR, and maybe you know more about it. I mean, I think VR needs developed, where you can enter a world and be fully submerged. Look, do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, it is. It is inevitably it's going to happen. But look, let's look at this. Look at the facts. Yeah, VR is nothing new. Yeah. It's been around since I was a little kid.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. It always comes in phases. The VR wave comes in phases. It goes popular. Everybody talks about it. And then a year later, nobody talks about it.
Okay.
And then we wait another decade, and another VR wave comes along. Everybody talks about it.
Yeah, then it's kind of like 3D cinema, is it?
Exactly the same thing. It comes in waves, right? Yeah. However, its enduring spirit is the fact that games are becoming more and more interactive. Yeah. And VR is one of the ultimate forms of that, right? Okay. So we've hit the VR phase. Now it's dead, right? So there will be another VR phase, maybe in 5 to 10 years' time.
Maybe
but
then.
What's good news about it is that the last VR wave, the VR consoles went into the house. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Before it was VR centers. Yeah. But now we can do this at home. Right. So that's what the major shift has been.
Coming home.
That's what the major shift has been. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So the next big phase will be even cheaper, easier to set up. The problem was it was expensive. Yeah. With any VR, it was difficult to set up. Yeah. And the games were extremely limiting. Okay. Yeah. Once you get over those hurdles, there's price point and technological hurdles, then it'll be easy. If you can just pick it up, put it in front of your eyes, and ready to rock and roll with no tinkering around. Yeah. And the games are, really good.
Configuration.
Exactly. Nothing like that. Just like what consoles have done for gamers, for instead of PCs. Then it'll become a standard stock affair.
So it's common, guys. It's common.
It is coming.
Okay, so that was the crack about video games.
Yeah.
We had a good discussion, a little bit of a debate about the different video games. What video games are, but then we talked about consoles, computer games, horrible mobile games. We talked about the appeal of video games, what we played in our youth or younger youth, if you like. we talked about the most popular games now, just a little bit. We talked about violence in computer games, does it promote it, and a little bit about the future. So that was the crack about video games.